Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I am out on a hike again. Surprise, surprise. Did you guys know that I like hiking? Anyway, I'm out here and I'm kind of in one of my favorite canyons. In fact, it's probably my favorite canyon here in the San Gabriel Mountains, and it's a little bit of a secret spot for me. I hardly ever see anybody else up here. And I'm in this kind of, it's not super dense, but there's a lot of stuff right up here. And so I have been meaning to get out and do some more testing on my Fox Pelican. So I've got this knife in pocket right now. I am ready to find some stuff to kind of put it through and see what it's made of. It's been really cool. I posted a picture of this knife on Instagram right about the time that I posted my first impressions video of it on YouTube. And the designer of the knife, I apologize, dude, I'm not gonna say your name right. I should have asked you exactly how it's said. Kmaxrom. I don't know if that's how you say it. I believe he's from France. He responded to me on Instagram, posting a picture of it, and we ended up kind of having a little bit of a conversation in DMs, and he is a super nice guy. And he kind of confirmed for me that the design philosophy of this knife is meant to be a robust, serious outdoor folder, which is exactly what a guy like me wants to hear. Oh, that's nasty. There is a dead skunk right there, or the remains of one. That's intense. Still some bones in there, and quite a bit of fur. So that explains the smell here, although it's not nearly as pungent as if it were freshly dead. Anywho, it looks like it has been eaten by probably coyotes. There's more fur all over. Well, you find something new all the time when you're out in a place like this. Now, what was I saying? Anyways, the designer of the knife was confirming for me that it is indeed intended to be used outdoors, hard, and kind of the ergos, the design philosophy, just about everything about it is meant to be beat on. He was even explaining to me that most knives, oh, there's a bug on my back. Most folding knives have kind of two points of lockup, if you will, whereas his has like the geometry of the lock is designed to give it three, so that it's not just the pivot and the lock that are giving it its like real structural strength, but the way that he designed the stop pin as well, and the way that the blade rests on it is specifically meant to give it extra rigidity, so that whether you're kind of batoning on it or you're giving it impact this way, it's still strong against the lock, or whether you're forcing it through material downwards like you obviously would, it's not just the pivot that's kind of holding it in place. Man, these bugs are getting me. But you've got 3 points of contact. So that was cool to hear. I like learning new small bits of information about these knives. It's interesting to me. Obviously, I'm very into folding knives. So this actually looks like a pretty cool little spot to there's like some greenish trees right here, and this one's got another tree kind of growing into it. So I'm just gonna start hacking at some stuff. Let me set up the camera in a way where you can see me a little better. I'll probably put you down right here, and hope that whatever got that skunk doesn't get me while I'm up here. All right, 1 second. All right, so I don't necessarily have a real plan of attack here. I'm just kind of trying to find the limits of this knife, get a good feel for how it does in hand. I want to be able to review this knife in the next week or so and really understand its limits, how it feels, the way it performs, kind of the things that are unique about it, the things that feel similar to other knives about it, and just understand it better. So, so far, I've used this knife a little bit. In my last hike, I did clear some brush away as I was hiking with it. It was stuff not much thicker than this or this, like pretty reasonably thin stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of see how I can get this knife to bite in. It looks like this piece that's growing has actually started to die at the root, and it's growing up. It grew up into this one. So I'm just gonna hack at this spot a little bit and kind of demonstrate how good this knife does at chopping. And just show you, I've found that these ergos, they might be the best on a folding knife I've ever experienced for choking back and chopping at material. It's really impressive how I can get back on this, and it gives me just a great grip to chop into material. See, it bites in fairly well. This is obviously a much thicker piece of wood than I would typically chop with a folding knife, or any knife for that matter. But for the sake of testing, why not, right? I'm actually going to bring you a little closer too, so you can see as I keep going into that some more. I'll grab you. All right. So you can see I've already made pretty quick work of a lot of this wood for this being a folder. It's just performing really, really well. And I think so much of that, look at this. Yeah. So much of why this knife is doing so good at that is the ergonomics of this grip. To be able to get that much leverage on it, oh man, it's just, that's not common in a folder to have ergos that support that kind of grip. Now, that being said, it also feels great in a more standard grip. Having my forward finger up here in this groove, it feels fantastic. And if I'm making like push cuts through stuff, oh man, it feels, of course I'm not biting in now that I'm doing it on camera. This is thick, dense wood. But it feels really good and locked in when I'm actually on the knife. And the fact that the ergos of this spot for my thumb are built in, it's really, really, really good. This knife doesn't feel like a average everyday EDC, like office friendly knife. It's just not. If you have a desk job, this is not the knife that you're going to bring to work foreseeably, or it just wouldn't be the best option for that. But out here for stuff like freaking this, I mean, that's crazy. That's really good out of a folder like this. So I'm impressed so far. I'm going to see if I can't do a little bit of kind of jabbing this in at the tip and make sure that this knife, this is not a good spot to do this because this is too loose now. Let me find a better spot where I can go ahead and jab this in by the tip and see how it does. And yeah, I'll take you somewhere else real quick. All right, so I'm making my way around here. I've just gotten to a better spot to go ahead and kind of test. Oh man, it's buggy today. To test this tip a little bit. Before I do, while I've got you right here, I figured I'd talk a little bit more about some of the features of this knife that I haven't really discussed that in depth yet. I know I talked a lot about the grip. I can't say enough good things about this grip. The way that it's designed to take my hand in multiple locations and make it feel comfortable, it's just excellent. It's also really comfortable in a reverse grip. And I think part of what makes me love this handle so much is not only that the G10 is so rounded, I talked about that in my first impressions, it's got this great contouring to it, but the way that they have milled these grooves onto here, I hope that the lighting is picking that up. I don't know if it is. It's just really well done, and it's not like abrasive like most kind of checkered G10 is, but it provides as much grip as I could possibly want out of this knife. It feels so locked in, but it's not shredding my pocket, it's not tearing up my hands, it just feels great. Anyways, enough about the ergos. The ergos are the shining feature of this knife. Really, really fantastic. But another thing I wanted to address is the blade steel choice. So one thing that I was not crazy about this knife on paper before I had it was that it's using N690. I don't dislike N690. Let me get that right out of the way. I have other knives in N690. I've owned several that I don't still own in N690 that I used and liked. And the thing that I'll say is kind of a strength in my opinion about N690 is definitely, let's see if I can get you a better angle. There we go. Is definitely when I've sharpened N690, it's, for me, the materials I have, or the sharpening system that I have, I just use a Lansky at the moment, although I may be getting a new sharpening system soon. With the tools I have at my disposal, N690 is a steel that I'm very comfortable resharpening, and it goes pretty quickly, pretty smoothly. It's nice to get, it's easy for me to get to a really sharp edge. And yeah, I enjoy sharpening N690 compared to other steels, certainly. And also it's fairly well balanced. It's got pretty good corrosion resistance, so I'm not overly worried about keeping this knife dry, or like, it got really sweaty in my pocket on the way up here today. I actually had it in my back pocket because I was testing another knife in my front pocket, so it got like all kinds of nasty butt sweat on it. I had to wipe it down when I pulled it out. But yeah, it's fairly corrosion resistant. It holds its edge okay. I've been really rough on this knife so far today on my last hike, and I'm not talking like putting it through sheets of cardboard. I've been like, I just chopped through a pretty significant tree with it, and this edge feels to me every bit as sharp as it did right before I did that. So it's holding its edge really well. And then, yeah, I mean, are there steels out there today that I think would make this knife like even better? Of course. There are some really hardcore steels out there, like my Shaman in Rex 45. Rex 45 would be a really cool steel on this knife. What else? M4 would be great. That's essentially very similar to Rex 45. Crewwear would be cool. M390, which Fox already works with, would be a good steel choice for this, although I don't think it's necessarily like the best outdoor steel. 3V would be great. Some real tough steel on this would be really cool. But yeah, so there's definitely other steels out there that I think would make this knife even more compelling. But I feel like this knife being right around the $200 mark retail with N690 and this much of it, it is thick and big, by the way. And the way that it's worked, the way that it's shaped, the way it appears to be heat treated so far in my experience of using it, it's just done really, really well. And so I don't have any reservations about this knife anymore. I have proven to myself that in a realistic, like even in an emergency situation of me having to use this knife brutally hard through something that you probably shouldn't even really use a folder for unless you have to, it's gonna do great. I'm really liking it so far. So the next thing I'm gonna test, like I said, is gonna be kind of the strength of the tip here. This is kind of a sheep's foot. Gosh, these bugs are really trying to get me. This is a sheep's foot blade shape, if you ask me. I might be technically wrong on that. I don't know. I'm not a total expert on the eccentricities of blade shapes. But this looks more like a sheep's foot than a Wharncliffe to me, so I'm going to say it's a sheep's foot, and I think I'm right on that. Now, a lot of sheep's foot or Wharncliffe blades, I find, get really skinny at the tip, and this one does a great job at holding material on there. Now, obviously, that means that this knife isn't razor thin behind the edge, but as I just demonstrated, chopping through a freaking tree, I think the edge profile on this knife for what this knife is designed to do, especially after talking to the designer and confirming that this is meant to be a hard use outdoor folder, thinness behind the edge isn't really what you're looking for in that application, in my opinion. There's a reason why axes and like intense chopping utensils, if you will, or tools, are not made crazy thin behind the edge. It will help this knife hold this edge a lot longer as I'm chopping through stuff like that, the fact that it's not crazy thin. So let me get this camera set down so that you can see me pry, stick the tip into that and pry with it quite a bit and see how it does. So here we go. All right, so as you can see, I've already done a little bit of chopping here with another knife, but let me go ahead and test some tip strength on here, and then B, I'll do a little more chopping just because this knife is freaking fun to chop with. I did not expect this knife to be that good at that kind of thing. So first of all, that tip penetrates really, really well. For being a sheep's foot and not a spear point or even a drop point or a tanto or anything like that, like sheep's foot blades are not designed inherently for piercing. That's just not the way that if you were trying to make a knife that's like a stabbing tool, you would shape it. So the fact that this is a sheep's foot and it has enough of a tip that's profiled that well to kind of enter into material like it does is great to me. This blade shape also has constant gradual, nice, easy belly all the way along it. And I love that for slicing, for whittling, for feather sticking, that kind of stuff. This is an awesome blade shape. But yeah, to be able to just stab right into stuff with no problem, almost let that fall on me, is fantastic. And then to be able to pry fairly decently. Let's see if I can get some actual chips up here. I mean, I'm being pretty freaking rough on this tip right now, and it has taken every bit of that. I have no deformation. My tip has not become any more dull. It is actually very, very sharp still. This is just an excellently designed blade geometry. I really, really like it. I'm able to put divots in. This would be fantastic on a plank if I was going to do like a fire bow or something like that, fire drill. So yeah, I really, really like this. The last thing I want to do with it while I'm up here to kind of conclude my field testing is just going to be a little bit of feather sticking. So I'm going to find a good stick to work on that with, and then I'll prep the camera and we'll do a little bit of feather sticking and see how it does on that as well. Okay, so I genuinely do not know how this is going to go. This is a very dead stick that I just found real close by. I just realized as well, I don't want to be doing this right onto a rock. That's not the best idea, but we're just going to see how it does. So first we'll strip off some bark. All right, so as you can see, I'm able to get some pretty nice thin curls off of here right off the bat. If I was feather sticking to make a fire and not just to test this knife, I would be trying to draw out nice long curls and kind of build a little bundle down at the base like this. But I'm just trying to see how this edge profile does for it, and it feels really good. I'm also liking, again, the ergos, being able to kind of choke up this far onto the handle and have this control on here. It feels really good. Able to get nice thin wispy little curls. This is super dead, super hard, really dense wood. So I am pretty thrilled with that, actually. I like that a lot, especially when I get down here closer to my grip. I get a really good controlled spot right here on the blade where I'm able to just push through, and the curve of this feels really good. I'm not really getting any major hot spots or anything like that. The only spot where you can see I'm digging into my hand is actually from my fingernail, which I need to cut. So yeah, the knife itself feels really round. This is just shaped super, super well. I'm really impressed with that. But yeah, it'll feather stick. So this knife will certainly be helpful in getting a fire started. I don't know if I could strike a fire steel with it. In fact, let me go grab my fire steel real quick and we will see if it can, just to be sure. Okay, so I am 100% not allowed to start a fire in here. I'm not gonna actually get a fire going down in this canyon. But I do wanna see if this will throw a spark. So it will. Actually throws one really well. Now that feels like it's kind of gumming up. Well, that might just be some of the actual fire steel coming on here, and it's not apparently really messing up that corner. I might feel like the slightest, when I run my fingernail over this spot, it does feel a little bit gritty there where I was striking the fire steel, but overall it's not like it's taken any chunks or divots out of it or anything like that. That worked as good as I could expect, especially because this isn't a super sharp corner here for me to be able to get enough kind of friction and bite on that to strike it that well. That's great. I really like that. So it will strike a fire steel, it will fire stick, and this is proving to be quite the outdoor folder. I'll definitely say that. I still have a full review coming soon, but this has been a really fun field test to kind of see what this sucker's made of. So again, this is the Fox Pelican. Thank you again so much to Fox Knives for sending this out for me to review. I really appreciate them being willing to support a small channel like me by sending me a knife to check out and review for them. And I'm really impressed with it so far. I definitely am not saying all of these nice things about this knife because they sent it to me. I want to be very clear about that. If I didn't like this knife, I would let you guys know on my channel. I am never going to talk up a knife because of who gave it to me or how I got it or anything like that. It's important to me to be very honest about these things because the way I research knives a lot of the time is on YouTube. And so if I'm kind of putting my name behind something and then people buy it and find out that everything I said was BS, that would not be cool with me. I would hate it if somebody else did that. So I am being as honest as I possibly can be about this. Obviously, some of these things are my opinion. It's hard to express ergos to somebody who's never felt a knife, things like that. But the cutting performance and its abilities are abundantly clear. I really, really like this knife, and I'm excited to keep on going with it. I'm impressed that it's been holding its edge as well as it has, especially considering it is an N690. And yeah, I'm digging this knife. So thanks so much to Fox. Well done to, I apologize, I'm gonna say it wrong again, Kmaxrom. Thank you to you for designing such a cool knife. And yeah, there's more to come, but this has been fun.